I think, I don't know, it depends on whom you are referring to. Of course, I don't know which people are you referring to, but I believe that Malaysian can see the difference between the old government and the new government. I think they can see the reform. It's, right before their eyes, you know. For instance, there's an appointment of PAC, and then appointment of, for instance, even the appointment of AG, the appointment of, what do you call it, a new CJ. Yeah? Last time we never imagined to have a non-Muslim helming, what do you call it, the federal court. But you have seen the difference. And then the AG from the private sector. Of course, last time we used to have the non-Muslim or non-Malay. But this one is a bit different because he was, we want to separate the AG office and this, you call it the PP office, PP office. That means, but this one involves the amendment of constitution. For the time being, we don't have a sufficient number. We have done two-thirds majority, so it's a bit difficult for us to make amendments, unless of course the opposition support us. But we cannot expect from opposition. You know, I was in opposition. I know the mentality of opposition. Basically, their main duty is to embrace the government. They have, no harm for them to do that, because being a government, we want to make sure that whatever we want to do will be materialized. So, of course, we can get a guarantee from the what do you call it, from the opposition to support us. But if they, they want to maybe withdraw the support, we cannot do anything, because let's say we have, for instance, we have undertaking, they write undertaking, sign, it is not impossible in court. So it's a bit difficult for us to, quote unquote, to trust the opposition, But of course, we are going to engage with them. We want to tell them that this is what you call it is for Malaysia. It should transcend what you call it, political consideration. But of course, it takes time for us to convince them. But we are still, trapped under the old culture. But we want to establish a new culture. There are 115 initiatives online under the National Anti-Corruption Plan, 2009 until 2023. This plan envision making measures. It's not really a corruption-free country. I don't think any country they have a corruption-free. We want to have a zero tolerance on corruption, not a corruption. Of course, ideally, we want to have a corruption-free country, but I think it's a bit difficult for us to have a corruption-free. Even very idealistic. It's a utopian, concept. But for us, we want to have a zero tolerance on corruption. That means we are going. The fact that we have, I don't know whether you have Jawatankuasa memerangi anti rasuah, Jawatankuasa cabinet. Almost every month we have a meeting. So throughout, by this meeting, we have decided, for instance, IPCMC also is a product of this meeting. And the ombudsman also. Many things, So we are going to have maybe next month. So during the meeting, Tun used to remind us. We are very committed to combating corruption. Of course, unfortunately, corruption is so embedded in Malaysia. Whether you like it or not, we inherit a very rotten government. I don't know what to describe the old government. But of course, we don't want to indulge in that. For us, we don't want to. We are no longer want to be trapped. A blame game. We want to to move forward. But of course, those who have embezzled the money, they have to face the music. So unfortunately, so many people have to be brought to court to face the music. This is the problem, we don't want to to revenge. This is we are not a government of vendetta. For us, we want rule of law to be flourished, to be, duly, what do you call it, observed. So under the rule of law, if offender commit a crime, you have to be brought to trial, whoever you are, irrespective whether you are in government or you are in opposition. And then one thing, criminal. I was a lawyer. There is no time limit for criminal prosecution. Even if you commit a crime now, maybe you commit crime the last 20 years ago, you can still be brought to trial. This is the difference between criminal and civil trial. Criminal trial, there is no limitation period. There's no time bar. And then on legislation reform, most bills are at the drafting and revising stage. This include ombudsman, IPCMC, and political financing, bill. But of course, be in government, some people, they say why we are very slow. Actually, not slow. What happened in government, they have certain ways of doing things. For instance, if you want to present a bill, you have to prepare cabinet papers first. That means in that cabinet paper, you have to consult certain agencies. You have to get their feedback first. So all the time you're going to bring it in the cabinet meeting. The process might be cumbersome, but this is how the government works. Of course, I was in opposition last time. I never had experience. I never encountered this problem. Sometimes I also feel upset. Why is so delay? Why so slow? But this is the process. Like it or not, you have to undergo the process. And all candidates for board of directors for statutory body shall be vetted by ICU, JPM, for PM's approval to ensure a highly qualified and professional candidates being appointed. And then on public sector reform, relevant circulars and guidelines are being revised and prepared to strengthen the governance and integrity among public officials. First of all, I want to know who are the people on the street are you referring to? Because for me, of course, people are divided on this. I think most people realize that the PH government has been doing a great job. Maybe some reform they cannot feel. It's a bit weaker because it's not tangible. It's a structural reform. If you give BRIM, people can easily assess you. People can say, oh, we are good government, because they get money. This is the problem. When involve structural reform, it's a bit difficult for people to understand, especially the people in rural areas. It's a bit difficult for them to understand. It's very difficult to fathom, because for them, everything is about money. Once you research, but structural reform is very important. Without structural reform, any other reform, are meaningless. It's a bit difficult for them to understand. They used to ask us why our bantuan sara hidup, for instance, has been reduced. Everything is about about dollar and cents. It's a bit difficult for us to convince them. But we, on our side, of course, we cannot be populist every time. Sometimes we have to educate certain people. If you want to be populist, you can easily behave like the old government. You get the money, you set up one NDB, and then you quote unquote embezzle the money and then give to the people. You can be very popular, but it's not good for the country. That's why we want to have a different style of managing the country.
So it's in the healing process then?
Yeah, of course. It's a healing process. Unfortunately, the healing process is quite, take a long time. Because the malady or the ailment is so chronic. This one is an ongoing process, It cannot be done within one day. Okay, first we have to communicate their work, and then as much as being done. At the first step of building the trust, we owe it to our fellow Malaysian. The current administration needs to communicate what have been done better and more effectively. This one we have to we have to confess that sometimes some of us we have difficulty. some of us still have quote unquote the opposition mentality, you know, because we have been in opposition so many years. You know, it's not easy for us to transform within one day. The same applies to the opposition. They still behave like they are as if they are government. So this is unique in Malaysia. Both sides have difficulty at the early stage, but I think one thing for sure, we are quick learners. we are fast learners. I mean, then we want to address the issue of wrong perception, as if not much has been achieved under the new admission since GE14. On the words of reform in governance, integrity, anti-corruption, GIACC, headed by Tan Sri Abu Kasim, has rolled out more than 80 initiatives since June 2018. And Malaysia should promote its work in international institutions through UNCAC, UNODC, etc., and has been included in the Special Cabinet Committee, or JKKMR. And each and everyone in the public service and administration needs to properly present the work and communicate it to all levels of societies, and then to do better at the grassroots in communicating this. All this involve communication. And then to institute trust again on our public governance and the institution to make it. And then to make clear statement of government will and commitment in this matter, and to promote the values and integrity of by education and leadership by example. Sustainable efforts to eradicate corruption with better collaboration among enforcement agencies and using technology innovation to increase transparency. These are basically what we have. I mean, we are going to do lah, you know.